We are going to begin at the Supreme Court. In an 8-1 decision, the High Court ruled in favor of a federal law that prohibits people under domestic violence restraining orders from having guns. Justice Clarence Thomas dissented. The court has still not ruled on the much anticipated decision of whether former President Trump and others can be prosecuted for attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Let's bring in CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford from our Washington bureau. Jan, walk us through this gun case and how it found its way to the Supreme Court and what's at the heart of the ruling.
Well, this all started in Texas when Rahimi was prosecuted for having a gun despite a domestic violence restraining order having been entered against him by a former girlfriend. And he argued that that violated his constitutional rights. He had a Second Amendment right to own a gun. And the courts in Texas agreed. And so that's how this case came up to the Supreme Court. And the decision today, which you said is 8-1, is really an important clarification of some of the Supreme Court's earlier rulings, because it sends that important guidance to lower courts and lower court judges that I think have gone too far in striking down all kind of gun laws as violating the Second Amendment. Today, the court is saying, no, there is a role for the government in disarming people who are dangerous, who may be convicted felons, and other kind of categories, that the government has a role in passing reasonable gun laws and reasonable gun restrictions. So the decision had gone the other way. I think that would have been, a bombshell, because that would have really restricted the government's ability to pass reasonable gun regulations. Today, the court is saying that you can have those kind of restrictions consistent with an understanding of the Second Amendment that's faithful to the way people understood it at the time it was passed, that legislatures have always been able to disarm people who are considered dangerous.
What can you tell us about Justice Thomas's dissent?
Well, Justice Clarence Thomas is perhaps the most conservative member of the court, and he believes that you have to look very closely at the Constitution and its understanding of the Constitution when it was ratified, so that judges don't start inserting their own personal policy preferences and go willy-nilly adding all kind of things to the Constitution that's not there. So he argued that because there was no comparable law in place at the time of the Constitution about domestic violence and domestic violence offenders having guns, that he agreed with the lower courts here in Texas. But he's alone on this. I mean, as you said, 8 other justices said no. That's not the understanding. If you look at it, just because there wasn't an exact historical twin of a law that long ago doesn't mean that legislatures didn't intend for guns not to be in the hands of dangerous people. So Justice Thomas is on his own. He would have a much stricter reading of the Constitution and a much more robust protection of the Second Amendment. But it takes 5 justices to get a majority. And of course, today we had 8 united to uphold this important law.
Jan, I have to be quick with you on this, but we did not get a ruling on the immunity case. What are you watching for next week?
Well, I hope we get it next week. The court tries to finish up by the end of June. There's a chance that they may go into early July, the beginning of next week. But of course, that case was argued in April, so it's a pretty quick turnaround for the decision on whether or not Special Counsel Jack Smith can prosecute Trump, or whether he has some immunity from prosecution as the president. So that a major case, obviously, you know the stakes. Everyone knows the stakes of that case, and we may get it next week, but it may take another couple days after that.
Okay, Jan Crawford, thank you.